The chamber has been unlocked, and Regice is now a raid boss in Pokemon Go. You might be wondering, how do I best beat this Regice? And how useful is it as an attacking Pokemon? Well, who better to answer these questions than someone who took down Regice with only 4 trainers. Link to that video in the description. Let's get into the swag tips on how to take on Regice. So this is my Regice counter graphic. There is a link to an album in the description of all the graphics and graphs that I will be featuring in my live stream if you're interested in referencing them or sharing them. So yeah, here is the basic Regice counter graphic. Max catch CP is at 1764. If you got it weather boosted from the snow, then the max CP is 2205. For the party recommendations, I say 4 to 7. Now 4, if you're like pumped out, maxed out Moltres man, or getting a weather boost. And since the weather is so common, I've been seeing nothing but cloudy weather lately. You can do it pretty well with 4 people, but outside of those scenarios, you're probably going to want like 5 to 7, give or take. Compared to Kyogre, this raid's a lot easier. It's very similar in the fact that Regice has such a big HP that the fight's going to take a while, but Regice is not going to be knocking out stuff left and right like Kyogre was. And it's available until July 19th. Now for the recommended picks, the Supreme picks are going to be Moltres and Entei, with any of their fast moves and Overheat. Now Entei can also learn Flamethrower, and Flamethrower is a suitable replacement for Overheat. Overheat's going to be a bit better. Flamethrower is fine. These 2 legendary Pokemon are the cream of the crop, but given how easy Regice is and how much weather boosts can influence this raid and how common the weather types for this raid are, I'd say that if you don't have Moltres or Entei powered up already, that it's pretty reasonable to stand off and not power them up and just use the Pokemon that you currently do have. But if your main focus is to have the best of the best counter all the time, well then these are the 2 Pokemon that you're going to want to look at. Now for more alternative fire type Pokemon, we have Charizard and Flareon. For the Charizard, it's going to be performing like extra well with the Community Day move Blast Burn. So if you missed out on Blast Burn Charizard, then you may want to favor using your Flareon or even Fight Club over here. But if you do have the Blast Burn Charizard, then it's going to be a very excellent pick for this fight. Now for Flareon, Flareon can't learn Blast Burn, but Overheat is once again the de facto greatest fire type option if you don't have Blast Burn, which only Community Day Charizard has Blast Burn. So yeah, we got Fight Club over here. The moveset you're going to want on them is Counter and Dynamic Punch. Heracross cannot learn Dynamic Punch. It can learn Close Combat, so you're going to want to use Close Combat on your Heracross. And if you have Close Combat on your Machamp or your Hariyama, then don't sweat it. If you want to save a TM, you can keep it with Close Combat, but Dynamic Punch will be leagues better. So if you got TMs to spare, I'd go for Dynamic Punch on these 2 boys. I'll definitely will say that Machamp and Hariyama are better than Heracross for this particular fight. Between Machamp and Hariyama, I'd say they're about even. So they're pretty interchangeable. I wouldn't sweat having one or the other. And then for a tank option here, I list Ho-Oh with Steel Wing and Fire Blast. I feel Ho-Oh is constantly an underrated Pokemon. People give it a really bad rap, but in fights where it does have an advantage, such as the Regice raid, it really shines. So it shines even better if you got the shiny, I guess. But yeah, if you have a Ho-Oh and it's level 33 or higher, which is Steel Wing's breakpoint, then this is definitely a fight that you want to bring it out in, especially if you're up against the Focus Blast or Earthquake sets. But across the board, Ho-Oh does really well against Regice. Now there are other options, and they're listed down here below, but we got Blaziken, Arcanine, Metagross, Mewtwo, Tyranitar, Aggron, Salamence, Rayquaza, Dragonite, and Breloom. Depending on the moveset, depending on the situation, you may want to employ some of these Pokemon. Overall, the Pokemon up here are going to be your go-to options. Alright, now let's get into those swaggy graphs. So here we've got most of Regice's counters against all of Regice's movesets with their performances averaged. So you can see here up at top, finger in the air, we have Moltres being the best Pokemon for this fight, just like I said. And if you look a little bit to the left, you'll see that Moltres 33 is indicating that Moltres' breakpoint. So if you have a 15 attack IV Moltres at level 33, it'll deal 1 more damage on its Fire Spin, which is significant for it, and it just outperforms basically everything. So if you are powering up at least 1 Moltres and you don't want to go too deep, level 33 is a very nice cutoff point. Now you'll see just underneath Moltres, I have Entei FF and Entei FS. That's indicating Fire Fang and Fire Spin. There's some confusion a little bit between which is the best fast move for Entei, and if you follow Entei along on the breakpoints here, you'll see that at level 35, Fire Fang crosses the breakpoint, which makes it better than Fire Spin. But up until that level 35 breakpoint on Entei, Fire Spin is going to be the go-to move. Now to make this even more confusing, if you're under clear weather, then Fire Spin gets such a boost that at a certain level, it surpasses Fire Fang again. So yeah, just kind of wanted to highlight which fast move is being represented for each of these breakpoints and level 40 scenarios here. And then if you go to the bottom right, you'll see that there's Ho-Oh. If you're not familiar with how I run my swaggy graphs, the x-axis down here is total damage output, TDO. TDO is kind of like tankiness. It's a more useful representation of tankiness, in my opinion. It shows the total amount of damage, on average, as a percentage that the Pokemon will deal before it faints. So if you have a high TDO, that usually suggests that you're dealing a lot of damage before you go down. The y-axis is damage per second. So the higher you are on the graph, the more damage you're dealing faster. So a high DPS and high TDO Pokemon is like the best of both worlds, the supremo option there. But a lower DPS, higher TDO option is what I'd consider to be a tank, and that is exactly what Ho-Oh is. If your Ho-Oh is under level 33, you might wanna not use Ho-Oh, unless you're truly desperate for counters. Now going back up, you'll see that Machamp and Hariyama are both doing excellent. They're basically about the same in performance, so as I said before, these two are basically interchangeable. And then just behind Machamp, you've got Flareon, very excellent fire type option, pretty good at level 35.5, that's Fire Spin's breakpoint for Flareon. And then just a bit behind more, we have Blaziken. And yeah, Blaziken can do both. It can do fire stuff, it can do fighting stuff, but you know, jack of both trades, master of neither. Alright, so this is the same scenario. Regice counters all movesets with all of Regice's movesets averaged, level 40. But now we also have weather thrown in the mix. So if you see this little sun looking icon, that indicates that it's clear weather. If you see a little cloud guy, that might just mean that it's cloudy. In the special case of Tyranitar here, you got a little cloud with like a sun behind it. Yeah, that's partly cloudy. Moltres with a clear weather boost, obviously raffle stomping the competition. There's no getting around that. You know, Entei, Blastburn, Charizard. If it's sunny outside, these are the Pokemon you're definitely going to use. And if you have high level Flareons and you're kind of questioning, do I want to use my high level fighting type Pokemon? Well, if it's clear outside, it looks like Flareon's kind of a clear choice there over the unboosted fighting type Pokemon. Now, very clearly, the cloudy Machamp, Hariyama, and Heracross outperforming non-boosted fire types. So if it's cloudy outside, these are definitely the Pokemon you're going to want to use. If you check my 4-man clear on Regice, you'll see that I am using a cloudy weather boost with Machamps and Hariyamas. So definitely some hype Pokemon for this fight with that weather boost. And if you got partly cloudy weather going on, then here we got Smackdown Tyranitar, rising above all these other unboosted Pokemon with the partly cloudy weather, being pretty swag. And once again, this is all the movesets average. Reasonably, if you're up against Blizzard or even Earthquake, Tyranitar is going to be your main man. But if it's against that Focus Blast, yeah, you kind of might want to look at other Pokemon, right? Tyranitar, doubly weak to fighting type attacks, does not appreciate Focus Blast. Now, if all of this is kind of convoluted and you're like, this graph, Ryan Swag, I don't know, man, where can I get like a quick reference guide? Well, my boy Bioweapon has you hooked up with some memes. Yeah, y'all thought I was the meme king. You don't even know. You do not even know. The meme king is actually Bioweapon. You know, handy bingo kind of graphic going on here based off of what the weather is and what Regice's charge move is. So if Regice has Focus Blast, and it's clear outside, then you're going to go with Moltres. If it's clear outside and you're up against Blizzard, well, you might want to side with the hot dog Entei. Going down, you see partly cloudy weather, and like I said, if it's Focus Blast, Smackdown Tyranitar does not appreciate that. So you'll probably want to still side with your Moltres. But if you're up against Blizzard or Earthquake, then Tyranitar is kind of the clear option there. And nothing can be more clear-cut and obvious than the cloudy weather boost with the Machamps. And then once again, Machamp and Hariyama are basically interchangeable. So Machamp or Hariyama, if you got them, even Heracross, they're going to be your best options against the cloudy weather fights for Regice. I will also be including this graphic in the album of graphs and graphics in the description of this video. Alright, so I spent all this time teaching you guys how to best beat down on the Regice. You might be wondering, well, just how good is it? I went over a whole bunch of Pokebattler simulations trying to find a way for Regice to be cool, and I only found one scenario, so let me pull that up for you. Yeah, up against the Rayquaza raid. If Rayquaza comes back to us, it'll be a legendary re-release. And as we know, these re-releases so far have just been shiny iterations of them. So a shiny Rayquaza is a black Rayquaza. And as we all know, a black dragon is infinitely cooler than all other iterations of dragons. So I just wanted to include his shiny sprite on here, kind of bursting onto the graph, just for some extra Rayquaza hype. Now the cool thing that Regice has in this fight is that it's straight up one of the best counters to Rayquaza. If you look to the bottom right, where Regice is, you'll see that, like Ho-Oh, a high TDO Pokemon for the Rayquaza raid. I think my throat's dying a little bit. Holy shit. Come on, water. Give me life. So yeah, so it's a very tanky option for this fight. And the damage output is still astronomical. If you're unaware, the Rayquaza raid is the easiest raid in Pokemon Go. If you're with a squad of people, you'll be taking it down in like 10 seconds. So yeah, there's no real concerns about your DPS there, and the fight's going to go down so fast that there's no real concern about your damage balls either, so you may as well side with the most tanky option for the fight. Now, I know I just got done hyping Regice up for this fight, but you know, you gotta be positive about things when you present them, and this is Regice's best matchup. But I gotta give you guys a reality check. I gotta give Regice a reality check. I really can't advise powering up a Regice at all for the Rayquaza fight. Another huge advantage to the Rayquaza raid, which made it so nice for the time that it was available, was that you could just basically throw your trash ice types at it, beat the raid super fast, and then save on revives infinitely because you can just throw away your throwaway ice type Pokemon. Even if it's like a lower level one, even if we're not gonna throw it away, if we covet it and we want to save our Pokemon, you don't have to waste any dust on them, you already have them. But Regice is a very steep investment for a large benefit, but a large benefit that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, sorry Regice, as it currently stands, you got no swag. To add to this even further, Gen 4 is coming out soon. There's a Gen 4 evolution of Piloswine, this excellent Pokemon that you're going to see here next to Dragonite. It evolves into Mamoswine. And if you want stats on Mamoswine, you can check out my Gen 4 video, link in the description. But the TLDR is that Mamoswine is just going to rewrite the rulebook for ice types. And if you powered up a Regice to have like an extra bulky, powerful ice type Pokemon, well, Mamoswine is most definitely going to put Regice to shame. Alright, so that's all the advice I have for the Regice fight right now. If you're curious about the future Regi raids, definitely those Machamps and Hariyamas, they're going to be showing up time and time again in these future encounters. So if you haven't invested in a whole bunch of these fighting types already, well, now it's time to do it, right? As far as investing in the fire types go, Entei and Moltres, I really can't heavily advise it because so many other things are doing so well that while Moltres and Entei are the cream of the crop, they're not so cream that you should be creaming for them. You know what I'm saying? So I'd stick with the more budget option Pokemon. And if you got the cloudy weather boost, well then Machamp and Hariyama are doing better than them anyways. If you have any questions, comment in the description. I'll be happy to answer them for you. If you haven't subscribed to the Swag Man already, hit that subscribe button. Every subscriber validates my existence. And if you like this video, hit the like. SwagTips. You trying to tell me that like 100 people are watching this video 20 times over? If they liked it, that's actually kind of reasonable. You know, especially to like reference it.